Ever been on an online store? Maybe you're hunting for that perfect thing, and suddenly it feels like you're wading through just a swamp of options, pop-ups attacking you, and your brain just screams, "Uncle,
Oh, yeah. Tell
you
you.
bail," right? Close the tab, maybe with a frustrated sigh.
Mm-hmm. Done that many times.
That feeling, that's our topic today. And it's key to understanding why people click buy or, just click away.
Exactly. This is e-commerce psychology, and we're diving into cognitive load in the online shopping world. Think of this as your fast track to grasping how much mental energy your customers are actually using while browsing your store.
Right.
And more importantly, what simple changes can make their experience a breeze and, well, your sales soar.
We've been digging deep into an article called How Cognitive Load Affects Conversion, Simplifying for the Brain E-commerce Psychology from March of this year. It really breaks down how the mental effort of online shopping directly influences whether someone actually, finishes checking out.
Our mission today is pretty clear. We want to unpack what cognitive load really means, why it's such a massive deal for online businesses like all sizes,
Yeah?
and how smart strategies to reduce it can create smoother, much more enjoyable online experiences for everyone involved, really.
This deep dive is powered by Growth Suite. Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks then. What exactly is cognitive load in this digital world?
In simple terms, it's the mental horsepower needed to process information online.
Okay.
For your customers, that means the brainpower they use to navigate your website, understand what you're selling, and then decide whether to buy it.
Makes sense.
Now, there's a well-regarded idea called cognitive load theory, developed by a researcher named John Sweller. What's useful for us is that it breaks this mental effort down into three main types.
Three types, huh?
Right.
Okay, give us the rundown.
Okay. First, there's intrinsic cognitive load. This is the inherent difficulty of the task itself. So if you're trying to understand the, say, technical differences between two really high-end espresso machines.
Right, that takes some focus.
Exactly. That's naturally going to require some mental muscle. Second, we have extraneous cognitive load. Now, this is the mental clutter created by, frankly, bad website design.
Mm-hmm.
Think messy layouts, confusing navigation, or those annoying pop-ups that have absolutely nothing to do with what you're looking at.
Yeah.
This is the real villain in e-commerce because it doesn't help customers understand your products. It just makes everything harder.
Yeah, like trying to find a specific button buried under a pile of distracting ads or something feels like your brain is doing extra work for, no reason.
Precisely. And the third type is germane cognitive load. Now, this is the mental effort focused on actually understanding and learning.
Okay, so like the good kind.
Kind of, yeah. For example, reading a helpful review that explains why a particular gadget is so useful. This kind of load is actually a good thing because it helps shoppers make informed decisions.
Got it.
The article really highlights how that extraneous load is the big problem for online stores because it just gets in the way of that smooth path to purchase.
So the more digital obstacles we throw in front of potential buyers, the harder their brains have to work on irrelevant stuff.
Right.
And the less likely they are to actually buy anything. That makes perfect sense. And this leads us to what the article calls the conversion cognitive load paradox. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, this is the seesaw effect we see.
Yeah.
When cognitive load goes up, conversion rates tend to go down,
Mm.
and vice versa. Think about your own experiences. If a checkout process has, like, a million steps, or a website throws endless choices at you without any clear guidance, you probably hesitate, right?
Definitely.
This can lead to something called decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue. I totally get that. It's like when you've spent ages trying to pick what to watch on, say, Netflix or something.
Exactly.
And then you just end up watching nothing because you're exhausted by the choices. Does that happen with online shopping too?
Absolutely. Our working memory, that short-term holding space for information in our brains, it has a limited capacity.
Okay.
Imagine you only have a few mental sticky notes to jot down important details. If a website demands too much juggling, remembering discount codes, filling out tons of personal info, comparing dozens of similar items,
Yeah, it makes messy.
those sticky notes fill up fast, and customers are very likely to abandon their carts or just put off buying altogether. And often, later, just never comes.
Right.
So for anyone running an online store, the message is pretty clear. A mentally cluttered website usually means fewer sales, while a simple, easy experience often leads to more revenue.
Okay, so this isn't just about making things look nice. There's a real dollars and cents impact here. The article mentions some pretty significant potential gains, actually.
It does. Research suggests that by effectively removing these mental roadblocks from your website, you could potentially see something like a 15% to 25% jump in your conversion rates.
Wow, that's substantial.
It really is. But the benefits don't stop there. When you make things clear and easy, you also save your customers valuable time, which, they'll appreciate.
Sure.
This can lead to fewer product returns and fewer customer service inquiries because people are less likely to make mistakes or have unanswered questions in the first place.
And that builds customer loyalty, right? If a site is just a breeze to use, you're way more likely to shop there again.
Exactly. Simple, positive experiences create brand loyalty. Customers remember that feeling of ease and are more inclined to return to a website they know is user-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, consistently removing that mental clutter can significantly boost your profits and really strengthen your brand's reputation in what's, let's face it, a very crowded online world.
So we understand what cognitive load is and why it hits the bottom line. Now, let's dive into the why behind it all. What are the psychological principles at play here? What's going on in our heads?
Okay, yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's think about the brain itself. As we mentioned, working memory is like that temporary mental scratch pad.
Right, the sticky notes.
Exactly. Online, the more information you demand from this pad, remembering passwords, dealing with complicated navigation, processing lots of visual noise, the more strain it causes. Our brains, from an evolutionary perspective, they're kind of wired for quick scans and simple tasks.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for sifting through dense information on a chaotic website. Overload can quickly lead to that feeling of, oof, this is too much effort, and then poof,
Right.
the customer is gone.
That mental scratch pad idea is really helpful. You can just picture it getting scribbled all over and running out of space. What about those mental shortcuts, those cognitive biases? The article touches on a few relevant ones.
Yes, definitely. Several cognitive biases become more influential when cognitive load is high. One major one is decision paralysis,
Okay.
also known as analysis paralysis. This happens when a shopper is faced with just so many options that they become overwhelmed and simply can't make a choice, often resulting in them just abandoning their purchase entirely.
We've all been there, staring at what seems like a million slightly different versions of the same thing, completely stuck.
Exactly that feeling.
Mm.
Another important bias is heuristic use. When our brains are overloaded, we tend to rely more on these mental shortcuts or heuristics to make decisions.
Right, like rules of thumb.
Precisely. This might mean picking the cheapest option or going with a brand we vaguely recognize, even if there might be better options available if we just had the mental bandwidth to consider them properly.
I see.
And lastly, there's the crucial factor of trust erosion. A cluttered, unprofessional-looking website can trigger a feeling of unease. It makes users question the site's legitimacy and security.
Interesting.
If it looks complicated and messy, they might assume the whole transaction will be a hassle, and they'll likely look for a cleaner, more trustworthy alternative.
So a messy website isn't just annoying, it can actually make potential customers doubt you. That's a really important connection. And how do our different types of memory play into all of this?
Yeah, memory plays a vital role at various stages. It starts with sensory memory, those immediate fleeting impressions you get the moment a web page loads.
Like the first half second.
Exactly. A visually chaotic or overwhelming homepage can create a negative first impression that's, frankly, hard to recover from. Then you have short-term memory, which is actively engaged when users are problem-solving, like selecting the right size or color of a product.
Okay.
Bombarding this with too many simultaneous choices or convoluted steps can kill conversions right then and there.
And what about how we remember things long term? Does that help?
It does. Long-term memory is where established patterns and familiar layouts become almost automatic. Customers who frequently visit your store will develop a sort of mental map of your site, and this familiarity actually reduces their cognitive load on repeat visits. This is a key reason why it's so important for website designers to stick to intuitive conventions and use standard user interface elements.
Right, like the shopping cart icon always being in the top right.
Exactly. When things look and feel familiar, users can rely on their existing mental frameworks, reducing the amount of active mental processing needed.
So consistency and predictability online are actually brain-friendly. That makes total sense. Now, we've talked about the psychology behind it. How does all this show up in actual e-commerce metrics that we can, track?
Right. We see the effects of cognitive load in several key behavioral indicators. A major one is cart abandonment. That's often directly linked to high cognitive load during the checkout process.
Makes sense.
If the checkout is too long, asks for way too much information, or is confusing in any way, users are highly likely to just give up. Similarly, high bounce rates can signal an overwhelming or disorganized website. If visitors are hitting the back button almost immediately, it could be a sign that the initial cognitive load is just too high for them.
And what about how long people spend on a page? You mentioned earlier that can be a bit misleading sometimes.
Exactly. While you might initially think that a longer time on page is always a positive sign, in the context of cognitive load, it can actually be a red flag.
How so?
Well, if users are spending an unusually long time on a particular page, it might suggest they're struggling. Maybe they can't find the information they need, or they don't understand what they're supposed to do next.
Okay, so they're stuck, not engaged.
Precisely. Conversely, very short times on page leading to bounces also point to a problem, usually that initial cognitive overload we talked about. The crucial thing is to analyze these metrics together and in context, not just look at one number.
It seems like certain types of online businesses would be more susceptible to the negative impacts of high cognitive load than others, right? Depending on what they sell or do.
Absolutely. E-commerce, just in general, is particularly vulnerable, especially for businesses with huge product catalogs or complicated multi-stage checkout procedures.
Yeah, I can see that.
Software as a service, SaaS companies also face this challenge. Overly complex onboarding processes or just an overwhelming array of features can easily scare off new users before they even get started.
Right, too much to learn up front.
Exactly. And in the financial services sector, where trust and security are absolutely paramount, a confusing or intricate interface can really amplify user anxiety and significantly hinder conversions.
Makes sense. You don't want complexity when dealing with money.
Definitely not.
Oh.
So simplifying the user journey in these industries can dramatically reduce friction and improve crucial metrics like sales, signups, you name it.
It's interesting, too, to consider that not everyone processes online information the same way. Are there cultural or demographic differences in how people experience cognitive load?
Yes, there are definitely variations to be aware of. Some cultures might be more comfortable with, say, detailed information and numerous choices, while others tend to prefer a more minimalist and straightforward approach. Age and familiarity with technology also play a significant role.
Right.
Younger digitally native users might be able to navigate certain levels of complexity, but they also tend to have very little patience for inefficient or time-consuming experiences.
It's true. They expect speed.
They do. On the other hand, older or less tech-savvy users often require exceptionally clear and very simple pathways. The key takeaway here is really the importance of understanding your specific target audience and tailoring the level of complexity on your website to their preferences and abilities. You want to create a comfortable and engaging experience that encourages them to stay and ultimately convert.
Okay, we've defined the problem, explored its impact, looked at the psychology. Now let's get practical. What are some concrete strategies we can actually use to reduce cognitive load on our websites? Like, what can people do tomorrow?
Okay, good question. There are several key areas to focus on. A fundamental one is interface simplification. This involves using techniques like establishing a clear visual hierarchy. So using size, spacing, contrast strategically to immediately draw the user's eye to what's most important and guide them through the page.
Making it obvious what to look at first.
Exactly. Another valuable technique is progressive disclosure. This means you present only the essential information initially.
Okay.
And reveal more advanced options or less frequently used features only when the user specifically needs them, like a Show More button or nested menus. It keeps the initial interface clean and focused.
I like that. Avoids overwhelming people up front.
Right. And finally, leveraging familiar patterns, those standard web conventions we talked about, like the shopping cart icon location or a consistent navigation menu. These significantly reduce the mental effort required because users can rely on their existing knowledge and expectations. They don't have to learn your unique system from scratch.
So making it look clean and using familiar elements actually makes it easier for the brain to process. What about the number of choices we present to users? You mentioned decision fatigue earlier.
Yeah, that falls under choice architecture optimization. The core principle here aligns with something called Hicks' law, basically. The more options you present, the longer it takes to make a decision.
Adds friction.
Exactly. So the idea is to carefully curate and limit the number of visible choices at any given time. You can simplify decision-making by implementing default paths.
Like pre-selecting something.
Yeah, pre-selecting a popular or recommended option, which minimizes the input needed from the user. Another effective strategy is bundling grouping-related items together into packages or sets, so customers don't have to make individual decisions for each little component.
Ah, like complete the look in fashion.
Precisely. When tasks feel manageable and require fewer individual choices, users are just much more likely to complete them.
And it's not just about visuals and the number of options, but also about how we communicate with our users, right? The words we use.
Absolutely. Content and information design are critical. This includes using effective microcopy. Yeah, those short, clear instructions and labels on buttons, forms, etc. to guide users without causing any confusion. For instance, just using a simple phrase like, enter your email address, instead of something more technical or ambiguous.
Clear and simple. Got it.
Making text scannable is also key. Using headings, bullet points, and plenty of white space allows the brain to process information much more efficiently than big blocks of text.
Right. People skim online.
They do. And incorporating visual aids like icons or progress indicators can often convey information or the status of a process more effectively and quickly than text alone. Think about a progress bar during checkout.
Yeah, that's helpful.
The ultimate goal is just to ensure the user can quickly understand each step and remain engaged and confident throughout their whole interaction.
These are some really helpful strategies, but how do we actually put them into action? What's a practical roadmap for reducing cognitive load on our sites? Where do we start?
Good point. The first crucial step is to conduct a thorough audit of your current website and then prioritize areas for improvement.
Okay, how do we do the audit?
Well, tools like heat map analysis can be really useful. They show you where users are clicking or hovering excessively, which might indicate confusion or difficulty finding what they need. User testing, where you literally watch real users trying to complete specific tasks on your site, provides invaluable firsthand insights into where they encounter friction or get frustrated.
Seeing it live.
Exactly. And it's always a smart move to conduct competitor benchmarking. See if your competitors are offering significantly simpler, more intuitive experiences. Learn from them.
Makes sense.
Once you've gathered this data, the heat maps, the user tests, the competitor info, you'll want to rank the identified issues. Base it on their potential impact and how easy they are to fix.
Yeah.
Focus on changes likely to yield the most immediate positive results, like maybe simplifying your main checkout page or optimizing key forms first.
Makes sense to tackle the biggest pain points or low-hanging fruit first. And we should also keep in mind those industry-specific best practices we talked about, right?
Definitely. For e-commerce businesses, this might involve streamlining product categorization so it's easier to browse, significantly reducing the number of unnecessary fields during checkout,
Please, yes.
or implementing helpful features like autofill for shipping and billing information. Saves so much typing.
Totally.
For SaaS platforms, maybe breaking down that initial onboarding into smaller, more manageable steps. Highlight core features up front, and maybe postpone the more advanced settings until the user is actually comfortable. Don't throw everything at them at once.
Gradual introduction.
Exactly. And in financial services, emphasizing clear and prominent trust signals, badges, security icons, clear language using plain language instead of complex jargon, and minimizing the number of steps required for account creation are all paramount.
Right.
So while the overarching principle of simplification remains constant, the specific tactics need to be tailored to the unique expectations and challenges within each industry.
And once we've made some changes based on our audit and priorities, how do we actually know if they're working, if they're having the intended effect?
That's where the power of A/B testing comes in. It's essential.
Okay.
You formulate a clear hypothesis. For example, reducing the number of form fields on our checkout page from 7 to 4 will lead to a higher checkout completion rate.
Right. A specific testable idea.
Exactly. Then you create two versions of that page, version A, the original, and version B, with the reduced fields. You split your traffic and track which version performs better with your target audience.
Okay, simple comparison.
You can also employ multivariate testing to simultaneously test different variations of multiple elements like layout, headlines, calls to action, even color schemes to see which combination works best.
A bit more complex, but powerful.
It can be. The key is to define specific performance metrics that you'll track beforehand. Things like conversion rates, the average time it takes users to complete a task, maybe even user satisfaction scores gathered through short post-task surveys.
Got it. Measure what matters.
Right. By systematically testing different changes and carefully analyzing the resulting data, you can continuously refine your approach and ensure that you're truly reducing cognitive load and enhancing the overall user experience. It's not a one-and-done thing.
So it's an ongoing cycle of measuring, testing, and refining. What other metrics and tools can help us track cognitive load beyond A/B testing? Any other signals to look for?
Yeah, beyond A/B testing, you'll want to keep a close watch on your core quantitative metrics in your analytics. Look for unusual spikes in time spent on a page. As we discussed, that could indicate users are struggling, not just engaged.
Right, getting stuck.
Analyze click patterns on your site. Are users clicking randomly on various elements, seemingly lost? Or are they repeatedly clicking on the same non-clickable thing? That could suggest confusion or lack of clear direction.
Interesting.
And, of course, detailed conversion funnel analysis is crucial. Identify the specific stages in the purchase process or sign-up process where users are dropping off. This can often pinpoint where mental overload or frustration is peaking.
Okay, so digging into the analytics, what about getting direct feedback from our users? Hearing their thoughts.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Qualitative research methods are incredibly valuable here. Conducting user interviews or think-aloud sessions.
Think aloud.
Yeah, where participants literally verbalize their thoughts and frustrations as they navigate your website in real time. This can uncover hidden usability issues and areas of confusion that you might never spot in analytics alone.
That sounds powerful.
It really is. Additionally, having experienced UX professionals conduct heuristic evaluations where they assess your website against established usability principles can help pinpoint common design flaws that contribute to cognitive load.
Getting an expert eye on it.
Exactly. Combining these qualitative insights, the why, with your quantitative data, the what, will provide you with a much richer, more comprehensive understanding of the user experience.
Now, the article also touches on some more advanced technologies that are being used, or maybe will be used, to understand cognitive load. Sounds a bit sci-fi.
Yeah, the field is constantly evolving. It's quite exciting. We're seeing the emergence of sophisticated AI analytics tools that can analyze user behavior patterns at scale and actually predict potential friction points based on how users interact with your site.
AI predicting frustration. Wow.
Kind of, yeah. Then there are biometric feedback tools, things like eye-tracking devices or even wearable sensors that monitor heart rate and skin conductance.
Seriously.
Yeah, they can provide real-time data on users' physiological responses to different website elements, offering insights into their levels of attention and potential frustration or stress.
That's wild.
And while still largely in the realm of academic research for now, neuroimaging techniques like fMRI and EEG are being used to study the brain's activity directly in response to digital interfaces, giving us a deeper understanding of the neural processes involved in cognitive load.
Okay, maybe not something the average store owner can use tomorrow, but fascinating to see where things are heading.
Absolutely. While these advanced methods might not be widely accessible just yet, they really highlight the increasing sophistication in how we can understand and address cognitive load in the future. It's becoming more of a science.
This has all been incredibly valuable. I think the core message I'm really taking away is that making the online experience easier, less mentally taxing.
Right.
It isn't just about boosting sales figures, is it? It's about creating happier, more satisfied customers overall.
Precisely. That's the heart of it. By prioritizing clarity, simplicity, and a genuinely user-centered approach in your website design, you can not only improve your conversion rates, but also build stronger, more enduring relationships with your customer base. It's good business and good for users.
This deep dive was powered by Growth Suite. Growth Suite helps you run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free. And on that note, a final thought for you listening. Think about your own online store, or maybe just the websites you use regularly. What's one specific area where you immediately see an opportunity to reduce the mental clutter for your users, or maybe even for yourself? It's definitely food for thought, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about making those online interactions just that little bit smoother, a little bit easier for the brain. A small change can make a big difference.
This has been E-commerce Psychology.